and welcome to the Minority Report. I'm Arlan David, your host on this program, and this evening we're back another week. We're at it again. I apologize for last week. We would have not been able to air for a number of reasons, but thank God that we're back out again to continue doing what we've been doing since earlier this year, which is to promote the mandate of the minority leader and the minority councillor in terms of addressing issues and representing the persons and people of the island of Tobago. This evening I have with me on set none other than the minority leader himself, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, and we're going to be having quite an interesting program this evening. Welcome, Minority Leader.
Good night, Mr. David. Good night to all our viewers, listeners, and well-wishers.
Yes, definitely. And for those who are viewing, you can continue to view this program on the Tobago Updates website, the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, but the one that is most frequently looked at and viewed is the Tobago Updates Facebook page. Might I also remind you that this program is also being aired on M&E TV, so you can log into either of those platforms. If you have questions or comments that you wish to share with us, you can also send those to the WhatsApp number, which is 284-6597. That's 284-6597. And we're really interested in hearing what you have to say. This evening, I'm hoping that we may get the opportunity as well to open the lines and entertain one or two calls from our viewers. I know that the topics that we've been dealing with are very interesting. So we're going to take a short break, and as we come back, we're going to get right into some chit-chat, a bit of sports first. And I know that the minority leader is very passionate about sports, all manner of sports. So we're going to have a bit of conversation on that before getting into the meat of this evening's program. So stay tuned, stay locked on, share the live this evening, and get as many people on board so we can have a very, very fruitful program. We'll be right back.
I want to welcome Assemblyman Joel Sampson, a guy who a lot of us know fondly by NOTSI.
The Assistant Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, and Ms. Megan Morrison. And the Assistant Secretary in Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Mr. Sonny Craig.
Beneath the surface, we get to hear candid views from every assemblyman, every area representative, every councillor and presiding officer. Their accomplishments, their challenges, and their goals for 2023. Beneath the Surface, weekdays from 8 a.m. on Good Morning Tobago, with Candice Jackson and Chanel Felix, only on Tobago Updates.
Was a while before Christmas, and all through the land, people was putting away house with very little money in hand. They was painting and cleaning and doing their chores, but I went to hunt for deals at American stores. Deals on living and dining room sets, on fridges and stoves, beds and cabinets, on washers and dryers, small appliances cheap, even TVs and stereos, prices just can't be beat. So let's Christmas together at American stores. After all, what they tell me, anything could be yours.
Anything can be yours at American stores.
I'm Roxanne Hepburn, the Managing Director of La Marche Parfait Day Spa. And now guess what? We're in Tobago and we are so excited to serve Tobago.
La Marche Parfait Day Spa Tobago will be open to the public from Monday the 5th. Some of the services that you can access would be infrared body steam, spa parties, body treatments, massages, pedicures, manicures, waxing, carviation, radio, and lipo slimming and cellulite wrap treatment. We are located at number 1 Main Road, Barrington's Court, Bonaccord Village.
And we're back this evening, and we're going to kick it off, as we would have seen, and I would have introduced the minority leader is in studio with us this evening. We want to say good night to the minority councillor, who is not with us, but she is in fact with us. Minority Councillor Petal Daniel Benoit, good evening. We know that she's also celebrating the birthday of her son today.
Yes.
We want to say happy birthday to him as well. You know, it's a lot of festivities, a festive occasion. When you have children, you must occupy yourself with these things. So we want to just say good night to her and her family. And in the air right now, Kelvon, football.
World Cup time, Marilyn, who you backing? Who is your side?
Well, I mean, I have always...
You look like a Brazilian.
I have always supported the Brazilian brand of football. But I have, in recent years, been developing an affinity to the African footballers, because I find that... I feel the last time I felt that an African team had a very good chance was with Ghana.
Yeah, and then Senegal was looking good, but
Yes.
then their star player ended up getting injured and now out of the World Cup. So, you know, so they would have fell 2-0 to Netherlands. And today was heartbreak for me.
Yes.
Because, you know, I am a...
Things got messy.
Yeah, things got messy, man. I'm a Lionel Messi fan, true and true. So, wherever Messi is, I'm there too. So... But things didn't work out today, unfortunately.
You sound really disappointed in that.
It was a real heartbreak,
I think, and this is my personal opinion, I feel Argentina, the likes of Argentina and Brazil, have lost their way a bit in terms of developing young talent. That's just my personal feeling.
But for me, I just think, you know, if it's one person that deserves a World Cup, is Lionel Messi, you know. I think that would be the icing on the cake. So I'm rooting, I'm hoping we could get those other 2 games, get the W, and then move on. Because I was telling one of my friends today, I said, well, if it's one good sign, I remember the last time they were stunned by Cameroon, they ended up in the finals. So let us hope this is deja vu.
Well, I mean, I hear you on it. And I think a lot of other players, because even there's the argument with Zlatan. Zlatan has never won a World Cup, but he considers himself a god.
He's not in the Messi kind of caliber, man.
Then we have Ronaldo, who... I mean, we don't know what we'll see out of him yet.
Well, the perfect final would be a Portugal versus Argentina. Cristiano versus Messi.
That one I can't agree with. I can't agree with that one at all.
But the World Cup is definitely, you know, kept going apace. And right here in Tobago, I want to shout out. I'm taking over your shout out.
Yes, I realize.
I really want to big up and shout out a young man coming out of Backhill Wim. And the real beauty of it is that this young man is from humble beginnings, and he's really a star among stars when it comes to cricket in Tobago, and he's now catching the attention of all of West Indies.
Yeah.
And this young man continues to be a real beacon of hope and inspiration to the other young men in the village, that, you know, even in spite of some of the challenges that, you know, you may be facing, and even in spite of the difficult circumstances, that you can indeed make it once you put your mind and have the right attitude. So tonight I really want to big up Mr. Joshua James, and I think we have a clip loading.
Yes. We have a clip of a commentary that came forward on Joshua, and I think it started off with Curtly Ambrose. And for all avid cricket fans, I think Curtly Ambrose is a name that would be etched in your mind for years to come. So when I heard...
And Courtney Walsh as well.
And Courtney Walsh as well. When I heard them speak of Joshua James in the manner in which they spoke of him, I really felt like this young man is really making some strides. So I'll ask the director to run that clip that we would have sent to him, so all of Tobago can also share in what was said.
Yes.
a number of young fast bowlers have impressed you. Let's start with the academy. Who stood out from there?
Well, they've got two good ones that we have seen, Joshua James and Clark. I like what I've seen with them. Currently, I've probably worked with a couple of them beforehand because he did some under 19 work. I was really impressed with him. Look at that guy go, right? He's got height, he's got pace. Look at that ball. We want to see more of that from him. He, to me, was one of the standouts in this tournament, even though they didn't go all the way.
Joshua James, though, is it?
Joshua James, and I did some work with him during the 19s. Very quiet guy. Do what you ask him to do. Doesn't say much. And he will let you know from straight up. Because you say Trinidad and Tobago, he's always no coach. I'm from Tobago. So I'm telling you guys early, once you come across him, you guys say Tobago. But he's very adamant with that.
So you see, he has that Tobago pride as well.
Yes.
And if you prod him some more, he would make sure and let you know he's from WIM. You know? So
you're really taking the credit there, man. No, but it's really good to see that in the midst even of what we've been seeing and experiencing over the last couple of months in Tobago and even in your district, where we've had some unsettling issues, but in the midst of that we can see a young man that not only rises out of that type of living and those scenarios, but is also now being featured on the regional stage. And I know that what normally follows is that as he excels, and as many others would have excelled at this level, then you start seeing them being called to the IPL
yes.
and the EPL and so on.
Yes, and we are hoping for that for him. And it's really a testament to his family as well, because we want to also recognize, sometimes we forget the parents, Suzette, his mom and his father, and that family is a real sporting family. They play both football, cricket, and he has a little brother as well that is also currently playing with the Trinidad and Tobago under 17s and also following in his footsteps as well, where cricket is concerned. Yes, wow. So kudos to that family, and also Mr. Brian Brown, who from inception works with the primary school and really took these kids under his wings and ensure that they had the training, they had the mentorship. Brian really also took them in as his own family, and you would see him have these boys on his van back, and even his maxi, and he does it religiously without looking back or asking for anything, but he really taking good care of these young men. So we really want to shout out Joshua, shout out Brian, and everybody who really played a role in what he is today.
Truly, and this definitely can be the beginning of a conversation, because I even earlier today we were having a conversation, and because of what you can see as a testament coming out of the community of WIM from this young man, it speaks even more volumes to the building of the finishing of the sporting center that is there under construction, and testimonies such as his, and as you indicated, we know that very soon we'll see his younger brother as well breaking into that stage. He has already been a national call-up, and I think many more young men and women within the community can reach this type of stage once they have the opportunity and the resources available to them. And
what it also says as well, because as we're talking crime and the challenges facing communities throughout Tobago, is that sport is an effective vehicle to tackle crime. Sport is indeed, once you have people involved, because it provides such a wide, vast opportunity, keeping young people engaged, and it also builds character as well.
Yes.
So one of the things going forward is to continuously expose people to sport. I remember we would have done in the village of WIM as well something called Sport Against Violence and Drugs, Saved a Night Football, and that would have that continued to bring out the entire village. It provided avenues for persons to also have their various entrepreneurship. So the pie woman would have come out, Dawn would have come out, Punch Man coming out, hot dogs, and so, and then it also encourage other persons to come into the community to view these games every night. So sport is really one that brings people together. It helps to alleviate the bitterness because it's a happy feeling, and that is something that could really be spread across Tobago as an avenue, as one of those crime fighting tools.
Yes, and we hope that it's something that can be adopted throughout the island, because this district, your district, isn't the only district that we see issues, and I know you definitely are passionate about tackling it head on. I know a few things are in the pipeline, and at some point in time on the Minority Report we're going to have some discussions particularly aimed at how do we begin to treat with our communities that we've seen, the nuances that we've seen creeping in Tobago, and the fact that it is an all of Tobago approach that needs to be had, but as additionally there needs to be a number of stakeholders on the table, and so in the future we're going to have that type of discussion as well. However, this evening, folks, we would have, in our last program, began a bit of discussion with respect to a number of the things that are the situations that are taking place in the island presently, and the fact that many Tobagonians are actually crying out. Literally, and that's it. Thanks a lot, Director. Feeling the pain. This evening, we want to highlight a few things as well along that particular line. But before we actually get into the discussion, we had a press briefing, Minority Leader, just a week ago, and we heard the Assemblyman for Palatuvi, Lansremy, Speyside, and Chief Secretary speak to the issue of salaries being paid late. And I don't know how you felt about his rationale, but I didn't get a good feeling at all, because what came across in essence was a bit of a double standard in terms of what was said before and what he was saying now. And I want the director to play the clip, the video clip of what was said on Friday, at least that particular part of it, in relation to why a person's 2 and 3 fortnights out of salary.
In London at the World Travel Market, I am being called and told that the workers are still not paid. So I called my division and I said, but inquire for me, see what's happening on the system. When they inquire for the month of November, I could tell you for a fact that the division had not utilized a single cent of its releases for recurrent expenditure in the month of November, yet the workers did not get paid. And I'll be very honest, I got extremely angry about it, and I did write the chief ad a letter, and I'm sure the tone reflected my anger, because if it is we do everything that is possible, your division received its releases on time. You have not used a single cent of your releases, and you still and pay the people their little kakada. That could never be acceptable. And so I inquired, I asked, I said, give to me a report in terms of what is transpiring. And then you will hear the excuses with short staff, people on vacation, and people that want to double up on the work. Where we had Carnival, as if Trinidad and Tobago doesn't always have Carnival, and we haven't always paid people through Carnival. In fact, Carnival in February is 2 whole days, in 2 whole banking holidays you receive, yet people receive their money. And all I'm getting is just excuses as to why the people cannot be paid their salary.
You know what is the irony and the hypocrisy in this? This was the same gentleman, when he was outside, not yet inside, telling Tobagonians that whenever you receive your pay late, do not blame the public servants. blame liar politicians. That was his words. So all of a sudden it's no longer the liar politicians, but it is the fault of the hard-working, honest public servants. So you're hearing the narrative trying to go around now. Somehow it is public servants that are trying to undermine the system. So the very professional public servants who were doing their work diligently all the time, all of a sudden can't do their work, and it's their fault. And the Chief Secretary is also giving the impression like this issue was a one-off issue that just happened in his absence while he was out of the country. This has been consistently been happening. You would remember when the CPEP workers weren't paid for about 2 months. They went without pay. And you saw the reaction again. First it was the secretary saying, well, he didn't get any release from finance, and they were back and forth with it. Now you have the URP workers, and it is a bigger issue with the URP workers because at the same time, these workers have not been paid their arrears. So what is the reason why? Since the Chief Secretary understands that is a little kankata they're getting, kakada, a little thing, right, that they gain. Why you're not paying them the Dosan arrears as well? Because that is as important to the URP worker as them not being paid. So what is the reason for them not being paid the arrears? Are you going to blame the public servants as well for that?
We're waiting to hear that now. And again, as we always do on this program, we never allow our viewers to go away saying that we hear them say. We always try to provide the adequate proof of what it is we're discussing. And so for those of you who may have missed that particular post, I'll ask the director to put that post up so we can have a read of it, of what the then assemblyman on June 5th, 2020. These are his words. June 5th, 2020. So he was already in office. However, he was not Chief Secretary. And his exact words were, please direct your anger to the policy makers, aka liared politician, and not to the public servants or public service officers for these broken promises. And this was with respect to salaries and increases.
So there's not many times I agree with the Chief Secretary, but in this instance, I'm going to agree.
Totally.
And I'm telling the public servants and I'm telling the URP workers who cannot pay their bills, who are struggling. I'm telling the daily paid workers who are not getting paid on time. I'm telling every worker who receives a salary late. I'm telling every worker who was told that they would not lose their jobs and they are now home. Do not blame any public servant. Blame these bunch of misfits, these liar politicians that sit down in office right now. They are the ones to be blamed, and they are the ones to put your anger towards. So don't take chain up from the Chief Secretary. Don't take his Nancy story about it being the public servants. Look at the policy maker. Let them explain to you why you cannot be paid.
And I mean, one thing for sure that they are is consistent, because I listened to the interview with the Secretary of the Division of Infrastructure 1 week ago, and it was heart-rending to hear this gentleman, for want of a better term, explain that is the public servants who don't want to pay the staff. This is not an occurrence that has been taking place for years, and so how is it all of a sudden public servants don't want to pay staff in divisions? And I mean, just as you indicated, the Chief Secretary said that while he was in the world travel market, this has been an ongoing issue. I remember you would have raised this long before he traveled, from persons who would have consistently been messaging you. and who at that time was saying that they were already 3 fortnights in with respect to salaries and so forth. So I mean, the question is it that because it has gotten to such a public outcry that he then called the press briefing?
But you know what is one of the sad things about this administration is to get any meaningful action, you have to embarrass them. It's only when you take it to social media, and because it is getting social media attention, that is when they respond. So you would I know persons who would have quietly messaged them, they're ignoring them. But it's only when the issue reaches to social media, reaches on Liz Williams' page, and they are getting a negative backlash, that is when they act. And then when they act, they are throwing the public servants under the bus because they want to continue smelling like a rose. They want to continue looking blameless when they know it is through their policies that we are experiencing some of these issues.
Yes, definitely.
Because the question is, you're saying that the public servants are the ones giving the trouble, creating the issues. But here it is, a secretary, a division was able to get public servants to basically receive a tender on one day, evaluate the tender the next day, and issue a letter of award, all within 48 hours.
Yeah.
So if they are so willing and so efficient to issue letter of awards and that kind of thing, how come you're now saying they are inefficient in paying the people, salaries. In paying salaries to the most vulnerable? And this is what is it is vexing to me, because these people depend on their salaries the most because they are being paid the least. And I am positive every secretary, they who receive big fat checks, they receive their pay on time.
Every month, religiously. And I mean, the title of the program that we're continuing is Feeling the Pain. And again, as you indicated, persons have no choice but to take to social media. And I want us to look at a clip of a young lady who I'm certain most of us know, because she plies her trade / hustle in the heart of Scarborough. And so I'm certain many persons, once you're passing through Scarborough, you would see this young lady at the side of the road, always very jovial, have her coolants and stuff, selling her drinks and that kind of thing. And so it was very appalling to me when I saw her take to social media and crying out and calling. And it even further substantiates the title of this program and what we've been discussing the last 2 programs. So I'll ask the director just to run that very short clip of yet another individual taking to social media and addressing the chief secretary.
Valiant Duke, I need to see Oya. Valiant Duke, I need to see Oya. Valiant Duke.
No,
some may laugh at that, but that is no laughing matter.
It's not a laughing matter, you know.
That is the reality on the ground in Tobago. People can't see their representative. They're calling them. They're not answering their phones. They're going to their offices, district offices, to see them, and they're simply just not there. There's someone who visited me.
I was just going to bring that up.
Mr. David, and you were there?
Yes.
And that woman broke down. She's from Castara, broke down because the woman left Castara, come to town because she was told she has an appointment with the chief secretary. And only to realize the chief secretary is a no-show. So after the woman put aside her entire day, because she'd been trying to see him for over a year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since the last election. outside of him popping in and out of Castara, but no opportunity to get to chat with him. Conversation about the things he promised.
And I mean, even that experience to sit and I don't even try to put myself in the position of the politician who represents and is actively representing the needs of the people, but to sit and listen to the cry of this woman, it was, I mean, to say the least, it was heart-rending. I felt as if my heart was being ripped out of my chest when I saw yet another Tobagonian coming to the and people find the office of the minority leader and they come and many persons just want to vent and this lady broke down in tears and I mean
I don't know, it is a very burdensome task, because when you have persons like that and you see their genuine pain and disappointment, it really breaks you down as well. And you know, because people would have trusted this current administration based on the promises they made to them, and to see them now turn around and break almost every promise that they would have made is one I know that have a lot of people feeling the pain. We saw a clip here with the very Secretary of Infrastructure talking about what it does to the Tobago economy when contracts are given to places and people outside of Tobago. He spoke about it so eloquently. So he understood,
both of them,
clearly what that meant. And to now see him turn around at his first opportunity to treat with contracts and do the very thing that he says is going to destroy Tobago makes you wonder, what kind of people are they? Why would you destroy the thing that you claim to love and the people you claim to love? Why would you destroy the Tobago contractors? We are a year out and these contractors from Tobago spend millions to help develop the island, to help restore the island after all those adverse weather, to put retaining walls all across Tobago so that we can now at least be able to have some areas secured that would not have been secured had they not invested in that kind of infrastructure. These people put out millions out of their own pocket to the point that the bank is now looking to foreclose on many of them. And you owe these contractors, and instead of treating with your Tobago-based contractors, paying them and allowing them to do more work for you, you have turned around and said, accused them of all manner of malfeasance. You have turned around and refused to pay them after you agreed to pay them, and you are giving out all Tobago allocation, development allocation, to somebody outside. In one instance, you're giving it out to a roofing company with only 2 years experience that would have started that business in the height of COVID-19, where we were doing no real infrastructure works. The company has no real experience of road works in both Trinidad and Tobago. Yet you are taking that company and you are sending them down to Tobago's most eco-sensitive environment, down in our marine mangrove, down at Pigeon Point, without any environmental study, no environmental impact survey, no assessment done.
Now, even as you highlighted those things, Minority Leader, and they are so numerous in terms of the atrocities that are being committed against Tobago and Tobagonians. We see literally a callous type of behavior and an arrogant type of behavior, because when questioned about different things and even prices and costs, we are seeing comments coming which are tantamount to "do ask me anything," and it's no wonder. And I make a direct link. It's no wonder that when asked about the contractor in question could have taken the position that he took and delivered a very racist response. Because if the members of the THA they're treating Tobagonians in that way, where we saw even the Secretary for the Division of Infrastructure literally admit to breaking the law for the sake of expediency of a project that had no approvals. And he literally said that to people, "I don't care about the law." And so we see the spin-off of that now, even in that contractor, when he could make such a racist comment. Now, what does this say about the persons that are in charge of providing leadership for Tobagonians?
Well, you will get what you accept, and the fact that this person have seen Tobagonians so willingly find him to give Tobago money to him, so he has no problem disrespecting the people to which he received the money from, because he has gotten it so easy. So this response from him is just a matter that it tells you as well the type of people that this administration is associating themselves with. Yes. And it begs the question, where did they find him from and how? What was the process?
Wow. Folks, we're going to go to a short break. We are continuing with the topic, feeling the pain. And before we close this evening, the last segment of the program, we're going to have a bit of discussion in terms of this Thursday's sitting, in terms of the motion that is going to be brought, the reprioritization, where the Chief Secretary now comes to say to the House and to Tobago how he intends to reorganize and restructure the priorities for spending. So we're going to have a short break. We're going to be right back. Stay locked on, and keep sharing the live. We'll be back soon.
If you see or know about a crime, report a crime safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. You can play your part safely and anonymously. Report a crime. Earn a reward. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. Be a hero. Champion. Fearless citizen. Be a crime stopper safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime.
Excuse me, Mr. Man. Playground rhymes. That's why I'm bringing back the playground rhymes.
Mamai Lakai Home Services. We specialize in cleaning of carpets and rugs, mattresses, living room and dining room sets, vehicle detailing, cleaning and sanitizing of homes and commercial spaces. We also do landscaping and tree cutting, pressure and power washing, floor care, fumigating and air purifying. You can also call us for professional painting services, babysitting and adult sitting. Call us now, 333-4430 at Mamai Lakai Home Services. We take cleaning to another level.
Our national borders, our first step to security, but a possible access point. for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
And we're back, folks. We want to utilize this final segment of the program this evening to bring some highlight to the sitting on Thursday. We're going to be having the 11th sitting of the Assembly, and the motion that is being brought to the House is with respect to the reprioritization in relation to the budget. And there are a number of questions, however, that are going to be raised in the House with respect to issues and matters of pertinence, some of which have not been answered thus far. One of the things we want to be able to do is to give our viewers and the general public in Tobago an idea of what happens in the House. What are some of the conversations and the discussions? And particularly tonight, we want to highlight one or two of the questions that the minority leader and the minority councillor will be asking in the House on Thursday, and to give some sort of rationale as to why it is necessary to ask these questions. So,
when it comes to public accountability. And during that period, which is about 40 minutes, and I'm allowed 3 questions per sitting, we are able to, really ask questions of great public importance. So this sitting there, we have some questions tabled to the Secretary of Infrastructure, because as you know, infrastructure is one of those areas of activity that we have great concern as to how public funds are being utilized, and with respect to transparency, accountability, and ensuring that due process is followed, especially in terms of procurement. So one of the things we are looking at is the stage in the sea, and when you think about the stage in the sea and you pass every day now, that you ask yourself whether this is good use of public funds or the best use of scarce resources. So we're gonna be finding out who is the name and address of the contractor awarded the contract for that stage in the sea. That has been a big, the best kept secret
yes,
thus far. In fact, he was on Tobago Updates here, and when that question was asked, even after the project has been completed, the secretary, who is responsible for that division, could not tell us who would have received that contract except to say that it was a Tobago contractor. So I don't know how he knows it was a Tobago contractor but don't know the name. But hopefully on Thursday we would find out. We'll also be asking him to identify the process, because we want to know whether every Tobagonian who has the ability to build a stage in the sea, whether they were given an opportunity to so do. And we also want to know what was the final cost, because we were told 1.7 million, but we suspect that stage in the sea, because of all the boulders and the stones I've seen been going there every day, we suspect that it is more than that. So we will be seeking answers on that. We're also going to be asking questions specific to this contract that was given out down at our most eco-sensitive area in Pigeon Point to this roofing company. So we will have some questions specifically geared to that contract, how it was awarded, who it was awarded to, and the process. We also want to be having, well, of course, a question specific to the Secretary of Education, because Scarborough Sec remains a school project outstanding, and at this point we have no idea when that school will be ready. So we understand the pain of those students and disappointment of the parents, and even the teachers and staff of Scarborough Sec at this time. So the questions are really to seek clarification, to inform the public as well as to the things that the burning issues. So we'll be asking those questions on Thursday, God's spare.
So folks, that you've heard it here, and as we began the program, one of the things that is always said, and we've been saying this from inception, that we must understand the role of the minority in relation to the House of Assembly. And initially many persons on the live even would have been purporting that, you know, why you all do hush, why you all was there 21 years, because they don't understand what is the role of a minority or an opposition, and that is simply to keep this administration accountable to the spending of public funds, to represent the interests of all Tobagonians. Because whether you are PNM, whether you are PDP, when money is being spent, taxpayers' money, it represents all of Tobago. And if that is not being done in a prudent manner, if it is not being done in a manner that observes the correct processes, especially in terms of procurement and so on, then it affects all of Tobago and all Tobagonians. And so when the minority asks questions in the House pertinent to holding the administration accountable, it is literally that they all are representing all Tobagonians on this matter, whether they like it or not, because this is what needs to happen. And so we continue to see these types of questions being put forward in the House, and I want to urge persons to really log on, because the sittings are normally broadcast live on the legislature's Facebook page. I want to urge you to log into the sitting and to take note and observe. Some of you will be flabbergasted, blown away at the manner in which some of these persons conduct themselves with respect to simply answering questions. And even though we try to highlight some of the responses here in the Minority Report, it would be good for persons to see firsthand. And these are the individuals that are leading the island. These are the individuals who are handling our administrative matters and being examples even to our young persons. And when we see the lack of accountability, and Kelvin, you would have mentioned something earlier. You said that even to the extent of persons not wanting to answer certain questions. I know there's a particular question that you're having some challenges with presently.
So I'm waiting. It's now 60 days and counting since I've filed a question asking the Secretary of the Division of Infrastructure as to, he would have mentioned that they would have used a pool of 40 contractors to evaluating their bids and so on, and it is from that 40 that they were able to select contractors to do these emergency type road works that we are seeing going on in Dutch Fort, Lamy Road, Pigeon Point, etc. And I want you all to know, Tobago, it is now November the 20, today is the
22nd.
22nd. This question was filed since September, and I am yet to be told in writing what was the process used as indicated by the Secretary as to how we came across the 40 contractors that were shortlisted. And I'm saying, if the process is so transparent, if the process is as indicated, why is this process, why is it taking the Secretary so long to be able to respond, telling us what was the process used? What is there to hide, Mr. James? What is there? What is taking you so long to be able to respond to a question that I believe is very simple and should be very easy to answer.
But isn't it that he would have indicated that they have the list? Because they said they selected from that list.
So that is the point. You would have told us that you had the process, you had a process, you have a list, and all we have said is just share the list, share the process with us. And to this date, 60 days later, Mr. James cannot report to the House the process.
And I mean, educate us on this here. But based on the time that the question would have been filed, the fact that it has not yet been answered, even to the point where the leader of Assembly Business would have indicated in the sitting that they were prepared to provide the answers to all the questions.
It's not just
Isn't that a breach
prepared.
of...
She indicated that all the answers were ready and were being circulated, and we only recognize that of the package received. So everybody else answered and responded, right? They shared the information that was asked of them, and he was the only one that did not. And up to this point, we are going into another sitting, and we are yet to get the response. So I will keep you all updated, Tobago, as to if and when the Secretary responds, because I am quite confused as to what would be the reason for such an inordinately long delay.
I wonder if he will attend the sitting.
Well, whether he attends or not, it's a written question, so he doesn't have to respond orally. It is a question that simply requires him to send a package to the presiding officer or the clerk of the House, and the clerk of the Assembly would then share it with all members. This is not his information, this is public information, and it requires a response.
So folks, you heard it here on the Minority Report. We definitely would like the support heading into this sitting, asking persons to really make the effort to log in and listen to the discussions about the business of Tobago and Tobagonians as the questions are posed, and more importantly on that sitting, the reprioritization in terms of budgetary allocations and what are going to be looked at in terms of priority with respect to spending in the island of Tobago. And we have now come to the end of this evening's program, the Minority Report. We want to really press on us this evening, and I'll put this call out that we be our brother's keeper. A lot of persons are really crying out in Tobago, and whilst we can come and highlight the issues, it would be remiss of us if we do absolutely nothing to assist persons who we can identify in our communities, in our churches, in our clubs, in our little groups, who may not even be speaking out, but we can literally look at them and see that they are going through certain things. And yes, the needs are there, but this also feeds into the coping skills and the psychological issues and so on, the mental health, and the ultimate of it is where it actually leads some persons to venture into a life of crime. So let us all be participants, active participants, in trying to alleviate these nuances from our neighbors, our friends, our relatives, our families, and be a part of the process of intervening and the intervention process to even assist someone with as simple as it is something to eat. You know, and let's be vigilant. Let's look out for our neighbors. We know many persons, those especially who have children, are feeling the pain, are really coming under a lot of pressure with respect to the way that we're seeing finances. And as we go forward, I think one of the discussions that we're going to have is with respect to the financial position that we are in presently in Tobago, and the question that arises is it or are we in Tobago heading into a financial crisis. And based on what we've seen, I don't want to say it to be a prophet, but it seems that the writing is on the wall. Folks, this evening I'd ask the minority leader to give his closing remarks and admonitions.
Well, Marlon, the reality is Tobagonians, all walks of life, they are feeling the pain. The URP worker from the lowest paid, daily paid, CPEP, they are all being paid late. Nobody cares if they are able to buy groceries, pay their rent, buy books for their children. This administration does not seem to care. The contractors, they are owed millions.
Yeah.
They have workers to pay. They are owing hardwares. They are owing the banks, their properties, their assets. And now on the line, they will lose all the equipment they would have invested in, build capacity over the years. Nobody cares that they lose this stuff.
Yeah.
You have the average Tobagonian worker, contract worker. Some of them already sent home, more to be sent home. When your contract expires, they do not renew your contract, and they don't care if you're able to pay your bills. You would have taken out a loan, believing you have another 3-year contract to come. This administration just don't care. And in the meanwhile, while that is happening, you are seeing them in their VIP, drinking and eating and fetting and having a good time. You are seeing them hopping on the next flight out of Tobago, first class.
All the way.
All the way.
Per diems.
Per diems. Imagine what a per diem is about $4,000 a day. That is the equivalent to what a CPEP or URP worker gets a month. And yet they can't be paid, but you are getting your per diem to fly high in the sky. And such is the callousness, the insensitivity, the uncaring kind of approach of persons who came to you telling you we are one of you, we understand you, we will do right by you. And you're now seeing that they are doing quite the opposite. They are fixing themselves, they are fixing their family, their friends, and they are not taking care of your business, Tobago. So we are saying you got to speak up. I keep encouraging you to speak out as well, because when you do not speak for others, there will come a day there will be no one to speak for you. So Tobago, let us stand together. Let us look out for one another. And you have a minority leader, a minority council, and a minority team that would always do right by you. We will support what is good for you, Tobago, and we will always defend your rights without fear, favor, malice, or ill will. Good night.
Folks, I'm Arlan David saying good night as well. We look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday as we continue bringing the issues, discussing the facts, and representing the voices of all Tobagonians. Have a wonderful night and see you next week. Bye-bye.
And also